Hey guys, so welcome back to another episode of Inspire You. Joining me today is my lovely friend, Harmony Woodington. Harmony, how are you today?
I am absolutely fantastic. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Thanks for asking. Harmony, thanks for being a guest on the podcast. I really, really appreciate you being here, first of all. So for the people that are listening and watching this, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your story.
So I am a clinical hypnotherapist, but before that, I was a regular human being. Okay. So
One who didn't overanalyze everything, basically.
I did. Yes. Oh my gosh. I was actually in a magic show yesterday and a hypnotist was on stage and I was not suggestible to anything because I knew exactly what he was going to do. It's crazy how it's changed my world. So I was born and raised in Vancouver. My dad is actually from Wales, and my mother is from Ottawa, Canada. So I'm actually the first generation born on my dad's side in Canada, which is really exciting.
Okay.
And my dad being born post-Second World War, and my mother coming from trauma, I came from the most amazing dysfunctional scenario. It was epic.
Right.
So those beautiful puzzle pieces allowed for me to actually be able to have an experience that set me on a path to resolve my own conflict and my own issues because of all the programs that were created within me. Now, I didn't realize that it was programming that was creating my issues. I just knew that my life sucked.
Okay.
And I wanted better. I wanted more for myself. Now, my previous career was actually as a skin therapist or an esthetician. And I was working with people on a superficial level. And it was really interesting because I've always had this desire to want to support people on a deeper level from a psychological perspective, but I actually didn't have the self-worth to actually go to university. At the time, I actually didn't even believe that I was worthy of getting a scholarship or getting government money to go to a university. And I didn't even think that I was worthy of going to a university to get an education. That's how low my self-worth was.
Right.
So, and I'm stating that because I want you guys to understand that I really identify with each and every one of you that is struggling with self-worth right now. So I had this dream to support people, but I thought, okay, well, I'm worthy of pampering people and doing nails and lashes and facials and stuff. I can do that. So I got a student loan and went to school to do that. And I did that for about 10 years. And it was fun for a while, but it was deeply unsatisfying because it wasn't feeding my soul. It wasn't what I was actually put here for. And I watched people coming in all the time, deeply self-loathing and asking me to help them feel better about themselves by doing their nails and giving them facials and giving them all sorts of different treatments to make them feel better about themselves. But nothing that I was doing from an external perspective was changing their intrinsic self-worth, right?
So what was the catalyst for you to go back and then retrain as a, as a psychotherapist?
A 4-car accident.
Wow. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that. if you're comfortable talking about it, that is.
Well, what's really interesting is that I had this feeling of wanting to help people on a deeper level. And I'm like, I know I need to do more, but I'm too scared and my self-worth is too low. I was working in this little spa and my self-worth was as small as the spa I was working in. And so I had this wish, I had this desire. And what's so cool about the universe is it listens to those desires and it grants your wishes. So if you don't jump off the cliff, you're going to get pushed off. And trust me, it's going to be way more painful if you get pushed off as opposed to you gently climbing down. So I had a 13-year-old at the time, just so you guys know, I know it's hard to believe I have a 22-year-old. He was 13 at the time. I didn't want my son to suffer either. And so I was afraid to take risks that was going to force him to struggle as well. So I didn't do anything. I did nothing. I sat there dreaming and hoping and thinking that maybe something would happen one day or something, I don't know, and maybe things would change or I'd figure it out one day. But I sat there and did nothing because I was terrified. I was paralyzed. And then I was in a major 4-car accident on my way home from work to my baby. And my whole life in an instant was shut down. I couldn't work anymore. I had a severe concussion. I had serious whiplash. My hips were shifted up and down and back and forth, which created a spine misalignment as well. So everything from the hips up was literally not good. It was not good. So I was diagnosed with a severe concussion. And then I ended up having to spend the next like year to year and a half in a dark room. So I actually got help to get my kid to school in the morning, and he went off to school and I went back to bed, and I slept until he came home from school. And then he was actually picked up by a neighbor, thank God, who helped me. And then I hung out with him until he had to go to bed. And I was in extreme amounts of pain the whole time. And as soon as he went to bed, I went to bed.
And
So
how,
I was only
how long did this go on for?
a year and a half.
A year and a half. And in that
I
time, how did you keep yourself busy? Did you literally just sleep and rest, or were you already at that point looking into the next part of your journey and thinking, how can I help people? And was that the start of it for you?
I was sleeping.
Come on now, let it go. We were young.
Fine.
We're gonna edit that part out. Jeez, Rookie. So I was actually sleeping most of the time.
Okay.
So I was sleeping, like I said, I was sleeping all night. I woke up to get my kid to school. I slept while he was at school all day. And then I was awake when I had to be when he was home. Now, the other thing, puzzle piece that I didn't discuss with you guys that I think is really paramount, because I think a lot of people can really easily look at somebody else who thrived through something like this and go, oh, well, somebody must have helped. She must have had people giving her money. She must have had a husband or somebody supporting her. I had nobody. My friends scattered. I had a forced friendectomy. Nobody was there for me. My parents, they live in poverty. They couldn't support me and they didn't care. I didn't have a boyfriend. I was actually single and dating. And then when I was in my car accident, I couldn't date because of the pain, and men made it worse. That was my fault because of what I was attracting. I love men, don't get me wrong. So I was alone. I was completely alone, and I had to keep a roof over my head and my son's head with serious injuries, unable to work.
And what was it that got you through that?
I had one service that I was doing that actually had really low overhead and a huge profit margin, and I was able to do it. And it really, really supported me because it only took like an hour a day to do it. And I was doing eyelash extensions. It was a massive trend at the time.
Okay.
And it was really, really picking up. And so it really supported me being able to really just go do the one service, keep a roof over my head. And then I was able to rest and sleep, but I had the money that I needed to take care of us, right? And the big catalyst was really the car accident that changed my whole life. Now, the missing piece here, another puzzle piece that people need to understand, is that most people are looking at their circumstances and the things that happen and going, this happened to me, this happened to me. My life is rough. I never asked or said anything along those lines. The question that was always in my mind was, how did this happen for me?
Exactly. And
how did this happen for me? What do I need to learn?
I think a lot of people forget that they go through a difficult period, and instead of asking themselves, why is this happening? They should be asking themselves, where is this redirecting me? And I think by the sounds of it for you, this was the start of a journey to then go into what you now do. Now, just moving forward a little bit, because you've given me a little bit of background on your story before the interview, before the podcast today. And you have told me that you've now started an entire course, which you have clients who come to you now to help with various issues. So tell me a little bit more about the course that you've started and how it goes about helping people in their day-to-day lives. What is this course?
Yeah, so I'm going to briefly touch on the foundations of why it is that I work the way that I do. So trying to seek my own resolution on my healing journey and everything, I actually was able to support my physical healing through discovering certain elements. And then in 2015, now let's go back, the accident was in 2012. In 2015, I received a phone call And Scotty, my man, received a phone call. His father was in the hospital with liver cancer, and my dad had tried to commit suicide.
Wow.
They were both in the hospital at the same time. I ended up having to take care of my dad and have him put in a facility to be looked after. I had to spend a lot of money, and it really shook me up emotionally and psychologically.
Okay.
And then I had to fly to Toronto, Canada, and go and hang out in the hospital there, where Scott's father was in the ICU fighting for his life with liver cancer. I was walking the halls of that hospital feeling like I was an egg. And if you tapped me, I was going to break into a million pieces. I was so psychologically fragile. I was desperate for answers. And that was when I called a 24-hour line that Scott's union had coverage for. And I talked to somebody on the phone for 3 hours that held space for me. And then I came back home to Vancouver searching for answers. I saw a couple of people in the traditional model. In Canada, I don't know if you guys know, but we have universal healthcare, and that provides support for psychologists, psychiatrists, and counselors. Outside of that, there's no support. You have to pay for it on your own. And I looked in the traditional model looking for answers, and I got Freudian stuff. I got textbook stuff, and I needed something bigger than that because I was having a spiritual crisis. It wasn't just mental. It wasn't just emotional. My spirituality was ripped out from under me as a result of what my father did. And so I was seeking a way to actually redesign myself because I was raised in a Christian background, and it was actually ripped out from under me. So what was really cool was I ended up going on this path and ended up tripping into a meeting that was a guided visualization. And the one facilitating it was a hypnotherapist. Now, in this meeting, she did a guided visualization, and I went into a deep state of hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And before I went into that, I was a hot mess. I came out of that hypnosis feeling like it was all going to be okay. I didn't know how, but I knew it was all going to be okay. And all of a sudden I was really positive, and I knew I had the answers. I didn't know what they were, but I knew I had the answers.
So was that like a life-changing, that must have been quite a life-changing experience then?
It totally changed everything. It put me on a completely different path because it made me realize that the answers weren't outside of me.
No, of course.
I actually needed to learn how to create a relationship with my own mind, because that was exactly what the hypnotherapist did. Yeah. She turned the energy inwards and made a shift within me.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like, hold on a second. I need to figure out how to get to know my mind better. This is really cool. So then I was learning from people who knew hypnotherapy and knew how to support you communicating with your mind, and being the type of a person that I am, I just went and became a hypnotherapist, because if you're gonna learn it, you may as well just go to school and become it, right?
Yeah.
So the other puzzle piece was when I had a particular person that I was working on in a state of hypnosis, I accessed trauma that she had. And from an energetic perspective, it was invading my energy, and I could feel it in my core to the point where it brought me to tears. And I didn't know how to support her shifting it. So then I ended up pursuing energy healing. So my program, all of the work that I do is to support you creating a relationship, a harmonious relationship with your mind, so that you can learn how to update your mental operating system and have the programs work for you to be updated, to be working for whatever it is that you want to create in your life right now, and to release any trapped energy that's in your energy body that's incongruent and isn't working for you and needs to be released. That way, you have a harmonious relationship with your mind and body, and it creates completion.
So
right?
we've actually touched upon this a little bit, and without going into the details of obviously what we discussed, we actually had what I believe you call a discovery session. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we had you as part of obviously us getting to know each other. We had a one-on-one call where you basically introduced me to some of the techniques that you use to help people to do all the things that you just said, to become better acquainted with themselves, with their mind, and their programming. And it's interesting that you mentioned programming at the beginning, because I think it's something that is so overlooked by so many people. A lot of people will ask themselves, why do I react in certain situations to this, in this way, for example? And they always blame it on an external factor, like, oh, it's because I responded to that particular person because they're a type of person who I don't agree with. They're giving off a negative energy. Yeah, a lot of the time that can be true, but you have to remember that your response is also measured by how you view the situation, the world, the person, whatever it may be. And all of that is inbuilt programming within yourself that you have learned growing up through primary, secondary socialization, the people that you've interacted with your entire life, and the relationships that you've had and the friendships you've had. So all of that builds into like a genetic code almost, and is so intrinsically within you that a lot of people don't know how to then extract that bad programming.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reason why I ended up walking the path that I walked, first of all, to resolve my own issues, because I realized that it wasn't just about focusing on the cognitive shifts that needed to happen. Now, cognitive shifts are important. However, what it ends up creating is 5% of your mind is going, okay, I totally want this and I want that because I know better now and it's so great. But the 95% is going, yeah, but you're a piece of crap and you don't deserve it. And guess what? The 95% is going to win every time. Win every time.
Absolutely.
So it's really important to understand that it's not about just working with the conscious mind. The most important relationship that you need to create is actually the one with your subconscious mind, so that you know how to update your mental operating system to support you creating what you want to create, because you get to work without even thinking about it.
Very true.
How many times do you drive to work and you don't even know how you got there and you're wondering why you didn't get into a car accident because you were in autopilot?
Because you just know the route, and you've done it that many times that it becomes second nature to you. But again, people don't think about these things. They just take it for granted. And then, it's not until you mention it that people go, oh, actually, yeah, do you know what? I do that as second nature, and it's all inbuilt learned behavior that we've done 1,000 times over. We've gone through the same rituals, the same motions, and we don't realize that is second nature to us then.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the thing that people don't realize as well is that if you are a professional, if you're looking to get into a career, if you're looking to start a business, those programs that you have are going to make a mess all over your life. They're going to dictate your success or lack of success, or you're sabotaging your success, because you might have programs that are telling you that it's easy to find money and create money. Can you keep it though? Your self-worth is going to sabotage you, right? And this is a thing that's really important to really get in alignment with, is it's the subconscious programming that's creating your reality and is putting you in a place where you react to people that's going to sabotage your interactions and ultimately sabotage your career or your business, right? I was talking to somebody about this the other day. When we are put into a state of fight or flight in interactions, our conscious mind is gone. Our logic is gone. Our subconscious mind takes over to survive, right? Our survival mechanisms kick in. And the problem is those survival programs, well, they were created when you were 5, 6, 2, 8. So whatever it is that the program is that's in alignment, that's going to support you surviving, comes in, kicks in, and it's activated, it plays its role, and then you walk away from that. Sorry.
It's all right.
Then you walk away from that scenario, and about 20 minutes later, you're going, what did I just say?
Yeah, exactly. And
what did I just do? Can I come back from that?
No, you can't. That's the problem.
Oh my God. People ruin relationships.
They do.
Because of our autonomic responses.
We react on our emotions. We react on, rather than taking the time to actually try to control our emotions and, be in the present moment and say, right, okay, I'm experiencing, anger here, and I need to take a moment to just step away from the situation. The fight or flight response kicks in, and we are automatically raised in terms of, how we're feeling emotionally. That's what we react on. And again, you said it so well. We ruin so many relationships. We ruin so many friendships based on heat at the moment things. And then we want to take those things back and we think, why did I say that? Why did I do that in that particular moment? It's because we are naturally inbuilt, to respond emotionally. Unless we learn to control our emotions will always control us. And we have to go through
Yeah.
that guided process of learning how to do that. So just moving forward, because we said we were going to talk about, and this is a really interesting topic. So we've obviously just had a pandemic. We're slowly coming out of it. The world is slowly coming back to some kind of normality. And again, touching upon what we've just started talking about, the nature of relationships, which interesting segue. The pandemic and relationships. There has been a huge correlation, and I know that we've had this conversation as well, a huge correlation between lockdown hitting and the number of relationships either, being tested or coming to an end, divorces, etc. So why don't you just tell the people listening about our conversation the other day, what we were discussing and what your perspective is on this? Because it was a really interesting perspective.
Yeah, I've been really watching everything that's gone on since the lockdown, and this is something that I've really been focusing on myself throughout my whole relationship with my partner, is creating a really healthy relationship where the two of us are owning our own power and thriving and supporting each other in doing so. So when me and my man were locked down, our love was amplified and it was a beautiful time together. We were put in a love bubble together and we had a great time, and we were upset when we were broken up, right?
Right.
Can this just be every day? However, I also heard from a lot of friends and a lot of people that I care about that they were getting divorced.
Yeah.
And they were breaking up because they actually were coexisting with somebody that they didn't even like anymore. And they were just in the situation because it was convenient. And when you're able to hang out with friends, when you're able to go to work, when you're able to go to the pub, when you're able to go shopping, when you're able to go clubbing, when you have everything in the whole entire world to distract you from your relationship, you can ignore the problems and coexist. But when we were stuck in a bubble with each other, it put everything under a magnifying glass. And then all of a sudden people had no choice but to bathe in their issues.
Absolutely.
Themselves and with each other. And it made a lot of relationships explode. It caused a lot of people to actually turn to substances and stuff like that as well, which broke up relationships. I had one girlfriend who was engaged to be married and her man turned into a massive alcoholic and the relationship ended. She couldn't do it anymore. One of my roommates, I used to have roommates, ended up in rehab. Like, it's incredible. So the thing that's been created is all of this phenomenal wreckage. It's just phenomenal wreckage. So a lot of people are left now out of a 20-year marriage, a 10-year marriage, a 13-year relationship.
Well, I had a conversation with a friend of mine just the other day, actually. I went to grab a coffee and ran into her, and she told me completely out of the blue that she had just ended an 11-year relationship with her boyfriend. And they've been together since basically as long as I've known them. And we haven't seen each other in a couple of years. We just happened to run into each other. And she said, yeah, it was the lockdown. We realized that, living on top of each other, as it were, and seeing each other day to day, we started to see and identify the issues that existed. And we realized that we weren't compatible anymore. We were basically coexisting, weren't allowing ourselves the flexibility and the freedom to pursue our own passions, our own goals. And that's ultimately what drew us apart.
Yeah.
And I think the same can be said for a lot of people that you're talking about as well.
So what do we do now?
Exactly. So in this modern world now, what do we do with all of this post-pandemic, newfound normality? Because the world is slowly going back to some kind of normality, albeit different. But what's going to happen now? Are we going to find that dating is completely different to how it used to be? Are we going to be more fearful as a result of the experiences we've had?
Well, what's really interesting is if we look back at the challenge that I suffered from my car accident, what question was I asking myself? How did this happen for me?
Yep.
When this lockdown happened, that was the first thing I said.
Mm-hmm.
How is this happening for me? And how is this happening for everyone on the planet? Because the whole planet was locked down for the first time. And I have no idea how long, because when the Spanish flu hit, we weren't locked down,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Nope.
There's a lot of pandemics that have gone through this planet. And I don't think we ever just as a whole planet locked down, because we've never been unified and connected the way that we are in this present time.
Mm-hmm.
We were locked down for a reason. The world as a whole needed to heal.
Absolutely.
The world as a whole needed to see its own BS. The animals needed a break from us. Mother Nature needed a break from us, right? So when I saw that the way that it was for me, because my business was shut down, my whole marketing model was on word of mouth, because a person would work with me, their languaging would change, their behavior would change, and they would go out in the world and all their friends would be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? You're a whole new person. You're the same face, but you're amazing. You're talking different. You're so much more at peace. I want a piece of whatever it is you got going on. Oh, well, you need to see harmony. Well, guess what? Nobody was socializing, so that wasn't happening anymore. So all of a sudden, I didn't have a business. And my business model was seeing people in person, which I couldn't do. So I lost my income, right? Mm-hmm. So of course, I was in a bubble then going, okay, how did this happen for me? Oh, it's time for me to birth my teachings to the world. Get to work. So I used the incubator to do that work. Now, everybody else, this is the hint. This is the question that you need to be asking yourself. How did this lockdown happen for me? What do I need to learn?
And I think there are a lot of people, I will be honest, just from talking to a lot of friends and people I know, there are a lot of people who have taken this lockdown as an opportunity to develop, grow, learn, be introspective, and to find out more about themselves.
A lot of people learned how to bake bread.
That's for sure. Yep.
Learned how to make butter from scratch because they had the time.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, my man absolutely turned to baking and building stuff and having a lot of fun from that regard. And I turned and put all my energy into my business, my baby. So the big thing is that really focusing on yourself and taking the time to heal, because that, I've heard you talking about people going from relationship to relationship. What do you call it? Monkey branching. Monkey branching. Yep. Going from one relationship to another with no time in between. Absolutely. Right? Not spending any time alone. Well, that is exactly what the universe has actually told us that we need to do is go into an incubator and spend that time to create that beautiful relationship with ourselves. Because I'm hearing too many people now who are going onto the dating apps and are trying to date because all of a sudden they're single. So now they want to go out into the market and find somebody new because they're desperate to not be alone. And they're attracting everything they don't want.
And it's not just that, but a lot of these adverts you see on TV for dating websites and a lot of the dating world and the marketing that goes along with it doesn't help, because they continuously talk about finding your other half or, finding the person who's going to complete you. And these are all such, terrible sentiments, because the whole point of it is that you shouldn't need someone to complete you. You should have someone, and I'm going to, take your phrase that you always use. You should have someone that is your complement. The person who is the yin to your yang, or however you want to describe it, but basically that person who is in balance with you, not the person who is going to fill a void within you, which if you went away, you could fill that void yourself, because then you're going into a relationship with a feeling of self-reliance, and being self-reliant and going into a relationship is a lot stronger than going into a relationship being codependent.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Absolutely. The thing that's really important to understand too, like I walked my healing journey with a Scotty. I didn't walk my healing journey alone. I didn't get to a place where I was owning my power before I met my Scotty. However, I absolutely started doing the work and was on the path and,
Yeah,
was like really focusing on myself. And then the universe
sure.
matched me by going, okay, you're on the right path. Now I'm going to give you an unconditionally loving cheerleader who's going to help you. Because
Mhm.
what a lot of people don't realize, and this is what's really powerful about understanding the dating world, is the person that we attract into our world is our perfect button pusher.
Absolutely.
Your lover is your perfect button pusher.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It means you have subconsciously picked the perfect person who's going to come into your world and find all of those buttons and push them and drive you up the bloody wall, which is why we have a honeymoon period. And then very shortly after, stuff gets real because your subconscious mind is like, and let's get to work.
And let's
Because
go. There we go. That's
whether you're
all.
consciously
Honeymoon's
on
over
board or
now.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, whether you're consciously on board or not, your subconscious mind wants you to heal and expand because it knows what you're supposed to do. So it is going to attract people and situations that are going to put your stuff in front of your face so you can look at it and heal and expand.
Yeah.
The problem is nobody told us that's what's going on.
No, we have to go out there and figure that out ourselves. And that is one hell of a journey to try and get to that answer, as we both know.
Well,
So,
that's exactly it, right? And so when you're going on these dating apps, you're attracting your perfect button pushers. So if you can get in alignment with that and you can go, okay, so where's my next expansion opportunity? Ooh, that's a pretty face. Let's do it. I'm attracted to that. And realize that it's actually you showing up to do the work. And if you can say yes and have fun dancing with the triggers, the buttons that they push, and every time there's emotion that comes up, you see it as an opportunity to heal and you celebrate it
yeah.
and you create emotional intelligence and you expand and you can dance with that. Then you're not walking around going, that person's a whatever and that person's a whatever and hating people and blaming other
Because you're
people.
in control of your own emotions and
You can
you
always be expanding with every opportunity that you have to
self-awareness.
interact with people.
Absolutely. So, as part of your journey, then, and what you do now with helping people, coaching people with your course and everything, what is it that you hope to accomplish long term? What are your long term goals?
That's such a good question. Because whenever I talk to people and I ask them who they are, they say, well, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a server,
Sure.
I work at the checkout at the grocery store, I'm a veterinarian. Everybody identifies as their career.
Sure.
I don't play on that level. I don't identify as my career. Yes, I am a professional expansion specialist and I made up that term. There's only one of me. You're not going to find it anywhere else. I'm not a life coach for a reason because I'm not here to coach you on your life.
Yeah.
I'm here to coach you to remember the powerful divine being that you are, which is much bigger than that because you're a divine being having a human experience.
Well,
I
here's
am.
the other thing with that.
Go ahead. What?
How many people change careers now throughout their life? Think about it. Like
Most.
when my parents were younger, like when my dad was, in his 20s, he got a job, and that was a generation of where you have a job and that's the job you do for the next 30 years. With modern day society being the way it is and people going back to school at various ages and what have you, there are so many people shifting careers and shifting paths throughout their life multiple times. And I think this is probably why a lot of people in their life now, in comparison maybe to, I don't know, 50, 60 years ago, are having more identity crisis through their life. Because like you just said, they spend however many years identifying as a particular person in that career. And then they get bored and they go, do you know what? I've done this for so long. I don't want to do this anymore. So they go and switch lanes thinking it's going to be easy. And all of a sudden they're just, who am I now? Because it's only at that point that they realize they haven't figured themselves out, because outside of that career or outside of that job, they have absolutely no idea who they are. And that's a frightening thought to have in your 30s, 40s, 50s, even your 60s, you know? People are going through this at various stages in their lives, and every single time they're asking themselves, why don't I understand myself? It's because you've been identifying as a job title. You've been identifying by how much money you make. You've been identifying by the fact that, you know, you're a mother or a father, or, you know, you have to delve into who you really are, beyond the surface level stuff, you know, beyond the titles that we give ourselves every day, because that's not enough.
Everybody in general is identifying with some aspect of their human experience.
Sure.
And here's the problem with that is our human experience keeps changing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Athletes, how long is an athlete's career?
15 years if they're lucky.
And then all of a sudden, if they don't have anything else going on, they go through a massive identity crisis and they get so lost. It's devastating what athletes go through.
Yeah, it really is.
Right? So we know that they're a ticking time bomb. And because it's all based on their physicality, which is only going to last so long, right? Most of us, however, who are going into regular careers, we think, well, we're going to be doing this forever. And we identify at it as it, we're all egoic about it. And I'm this, and it's a sense of pride and blah, blah, blah. Well, if something happens and it's ripped away from you, or you have a massive wake up call and you realize what you're doing is absolutely horrible and it's not feeding your soul and you want to do something else, then all of a sudden you're having a massive identity crisis.
Yeah.
So
and that brings around anxiety, depression,
yes,
you know, all kinds of other mental health, issues associated with it. And people do struggle with this, and they don't struggle with it. We're not talking, you know, light depression or light anxiety. People really go through, you know, long periods where they absolutely do not understand themselves, and they're trying to figure themselves out for so long, and they don't even realize the trigger until they've left that job.
Sadly, as well, most men after they retire pass away within a year or so of retiring, because their sense of self-worth and their identity was in their career, and when they retire, they just have no purpose anymore.
Yeah,
it's an absolute.
A lot of people now, they take their time with building up to the idea of retirement. They take semi-retirement, or they start working, you know, only a couple of days a week. You know, they don't just go cold turkey, as it were, and just completely, you know, leave their careers, because they realize that, you know, outside of work, they don't know who they are. So they have to transition gently and smoothly into that. Yeah.
So going back to what it was that I went through when I had my little identity crisis, when my father tried to commit suicide, it put me on that spiritual journey. Yeah. And that spiritual journey really helped me to redefine myself and discover who it was that I was from a grand scale perspective, which is a goddess, a divine being. And as a divine being, I have my free agency. I've always had my free agency, and I will always have my free agency. So guess what? Nobody told me what I was going to do. I actually cherry picked what I was going to do when I came down here. I chose my parents. I chose my family. I chose my challenges, and I decided what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And when I figured that out, it changed my whole reality. So what I decided I was going to do when I came down here was flood the earth with love, which is no big deal, right? It's only 7 billion.
I mean, yeah, it's only 7.5 billion people. That's not a lot to get around, you know. I'm sure
I got this.
I got this. It's fine.
What's really beautiful about that is that I actually came to the realization that I, Harmony Woodington, I'm not going to do this on my own. Mm-hmm. I realized that the way that I was going to do it was with the butterfly effect.
Okay.
So as I work with
just people, explain the butterfly effect for those who may not be familiar with it.
Well, yeah, and that's what's really interesting is the whole concept is that when a butterfly flaps its wings, it actually creates a catalyst of events that can turn into a massive like tornado somewhere else on the planet. So something really tiny can become a massive event somewhere else through this whole long series of events. And I ended up realizing this when I had worked with so many clients, and I'd taken so many clients through my Love Magnet program. And I saw my clients becoming lighthouses for love. They were showing people what the work looked like. They were showing people what it looked like to be in your power and be self-loving and living your life's purpose and being fulfilled. And then other people were going, hold on a second, what's up with you? I want a piece of that. And so the butterfly effect was coming into play. And so my whole goal is to affect as many people as I can myself,
Through being the butterfly.
supporting people owning their power, creating a relationship with their mind and body, learning how to love themselves, and going on that lifelong self-love journey that you need to stay on for the rest of your life and keep recommitting to for the rest of your life.
Every single day.
Yes, and becoming lighthouses for the work. And in turn, it will inspire others to do more. And slowly but surely, the goal is to flood the earth with love.
Absolutely. So you've written one book already, which just remind me of the title.
Actually, I've written a couple. So on Amazon, I have the Birthday Goals Guide, which is actually a play on the New Year's resolutions. And instead of it being the yearly cycle that's been handed to us 2,500 years ago, it's actually your birth cycle that's being honored. So every year you actually go through this beautiful ritual of reflecting on what it is that you've been up to in different aspects of your lives, congratulating yourself for what you've done well, because we always need to remember to celebrate ourselves and our accomplishments, creating grand scale goals for what it is that you want to accomplish in said arena, and then creating next steps for what you're going to do to create that. Since I published that book in March 2020, right before the lockdown, actually, I've been doing that for myself every birthday. And it's really beautiful to walk through that because it really, really supports you keeping on track and meeting the goals that you want to create for yourself in your life. There's a couple of bonuses in there as well, which is the internal dialogue, which supports you walking through a month-long exercise where you actually learn to listen to your mind. I know we've been taught to ignore our mind, but this is actually flipping it on its head, because if you're going to own your power, you need to listen to that beautiful mind of yours.
Not just listen to it, but really tune into it and, try and recognize the messages that it's trying to send you. Because a lot of people, they don't sit with their thoughts. They're too scared to, because they're worried about what is going to come out of actually sitting and having a conversation with themselves and listening to themselves. They're scared of their own inner voice. Whereas if you are able to tune into it, you can learn so much about yourself. But you have to be harmonious, and you have to be humble, and you have to just sit. And this is why a lot of people practice meditation, because meditation teaches you obviously to, become more at peace with your thoughts, and more present. And it's why a lot of people around the world now are falling into this kind of culture of, practicing self-love and being more in tune and in touch with themselves.
Because people are desperately looking for answers from a place of serious pain right now.
Especially after a lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. So the other piece to that is the mental operating system update. So once you've learned how to listen to your mind, I actually teach you how to update your programs so they're working for you right now. So there's that beautiful book, The Birthday Goals Guide. You can buy it for yourself or as a gift for somebody that you love on their birthday. A beautiful gift for somebody you love. The other book that I have is the Self-Love Journal. The Self-Love Journal is a powerful, powerful journal that supports you reprogramming your mind for self-love in as little as 5 minutes a night before you go to bed. 5 minutes. It's so powerful. Everybody should be doing this. And again, the self-love journey is something that you recommit to. So this journal is 30 days. And the intention is that you buy it every 30 days and you write in it. And this is something that you're doing forever. The next book that is up and coming to support all of the challenges that people are going through currently in the environment that we're in, having so many relationships being broken up. I talked to so many people that I felt a really strong calling to publish this book. And I'm going to tell you, the title is not messing around. It is not messing around. I'm telling you straight up what I'm going to give you. Create a healthy romantic relationship. That's what it's called.
And when's that due to come out?
Pardon?
When's that due to come out? Do you have an update
I'm
for us?
probably actually going to be pre-launching that this upcoming week.
Okay.
So I will give you the information for that, and you guys can absolutely purchase that. And then as soon as it's published, it will be yours. So I will be pre-launching, which means you can buy it and it'll get sent to you with some amazing bonuses as well. It's going to be fantastic. So there's a framework in there, a powerful framework in there that is going to give you the foundation to create a beautiful, healthy relationship. And I'm not going to tell you what that framework is because you have to buy the book and read it to find out.
So a couple more topics to cover then. Tell me a fun fact about you. Let's strip away the, the hypnotherapist in you. Let's talk about Harmony as a person now, outside of work. Tell me something that people would want to know about you that is an interesting fact.
I'm a crazy bird lady.
That's very true. She has multiple birds.
I have 3 of them. I have a lovebird that I've had for 14 years. I have my African gray that I've had for almost 2. I rescued him and he's 22 and he's a majestic creature that I am so honored to be a guardian of. I do not own that bird. I am his guardian. I am his steward. He's too brilliant for me to own him. And I have a Senegal as well that I've had for about 7 years, who's just raw. It's the only way to describe that bird. He's raw. The other thing that's really, really amazing that I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to do when I became an adult was I always wanted to be a dancer when I was little.
Wow. Okay.
I always wanted to be a dancer. And when I was little, I used to choreograph dances with my friends and we would put on shows for the neighborhood because my parents couldn't afford to put me in dance. So I made my own dance class and I watched freaking video hits. I know I'm aging myself, but
don't look a day over 21, it's fine.
When I got older, I took every type of dance that you could possibly think of. So I know how to belly dance. I know how to do Polynesian. I know how to do Latin dance, flamenco. I've done all sorts of different kinds of dances, and it's all integrated into this whole mishmash when I freestyle. It's so much fun. So
I can imagine you must be a hit at weddings.
I'm a hit on any dance floor anywhere. Absolutely. I'm very, very passionate about dance, and it really was a huge support for me before I actually owned my emotional intelligence and became a hypnotherapist, because whenever I was emotionally backed up, I worked it out on the dance floor. Okay. It was really, really powerful. So crazy bird lady.
Form of therapy for you as well then.
It's a huge form of therapy. Yeah. And I love dancing so much. I actually did a little dance on TikTok live before I came on here to rev myself up because it's such a great raise for energy. It's all good.
So as somebody who is, and this is one of the reasons I think we connected, because for those who, I maybe should have mentioned this at the beginning, but we've known each other only a very short period of time.
About a month, maybe?
Something like that. We obviously met through TikTok. You jumped into one of my lives off the back of a video and you heard me talking about self-love. And I think that's what kind of drew us together in terms of, oh, this is somebody that I want to talk to and I want to learn more about this person. And, it's the fact that we've got this kind of shared enthusiasm and passion for self-love and understanding yourself and, understanding yourself internally as well. And I feel like we've been on similar journeys. I do feel like in a certain way we have been on similar journeys. But I guess this is something I always want to know from people whenever they talk about self-love. From your point of view, what can a person do to take their self-love not just up a notch, but to the next level? If you are really looking to increase your, level of self-worth, self-esteem, compassion, understanding, what are some of the things that people should be doing that perhaps they're not doing at the moment?
First and foremost, buy my journal.
Shameless plug alert.
If you are not in a position to spend money, however, I do have a free download of the framework and it's called the 30-Day Self-Love Journal. And I would very much recommend 30-Day Self-Love Challenge. And I would recommend you downloading that and buying yourself a journal at the dollar store and just do the framework. It's incredibly powerful. The other thing that I would highly recommend that you do, aside from going and tripping along the path like I did for years and years without a proper guide to support me getting there, and it was really slow and arduous, is hire a guide. Hire an unconditionally loving cheerleader that's going to hold space for you with unconditional love and zero judgment. And is going to see you so much greater than you see yourself.
Absolutely.
You can find somebody that sees you as a powerful divine being and goes, come play in my love arena and meet me where I already see you, powerful divine being. You're going to walk that path. You're going to walk that path so much faster because somebody is holding space for you, inspiring you, and somebody like me might just have the expedited path for you to walk.
They might
run way faster. Absolutely. I did it in years. When a client chooses to work with me one-on-one, it's done in a year. Yes, it's a year-long process. I do have other options for things that people can do if they're not in a place to be able to work with me one-on-one. However, that's really what it comes down to, because as we discussed before, when we're put in a state of fight or flight, we don't think. There's no logic. We're high emotion and there's no logic. Well, the same thing happens when it comes to trying to self-reflect and do the work. We cannot see our own stuff, right? We can't see it clearly, which is why our subconscious mind pulls in button pushers to show us our stuff. We need a mirror.
Holding up that mirror for ourselves is difficult. But
exactly.
I think having someone else hold up the mirror, but doing it in a loving, unconditional way, as you say, is so much more profound, because the person doing it is trying to show you that you can be more than you already think you are. You just need to tweak a couple of things, within your own mind to get there. And a lot of people don't realize that. They don't realize that. And it's such a common problem. People talk about this thing, these phrases like, if you want something you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done. They hear these mantras and these quotes and these phrases and these sound bites all the time. But when the time comes to actually sit and go, why is my life not going the way I want? It's because you're observing the same patterns and behaviors that you've always observed. You're living in a state of what you describe and what I describe as a state of homeostasis. You become comfortable there. And then you're asking yourself why the world is the way it is around you. The world is the way it is around you because you're choosing to respond to it in exactly the same way that you have been for years. And nothing changes if nothing changes. So start changing.
And this is what's really beautiful is that, and I know you and I have, had moments together where we've worked together, and that when you are observing your stuff, when you're doing the work, when you're in the moment and the emotion comes up, you lose clarity.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm here on the other side with that clarity, not being driven by the emotion. So I can hold space and see the path of where it is that you need to get to, so I can ask the questions and support you and encourage you to access the programs that need to be accessed, to help you to create the new updated programs that need to be created. And because you've done this with me, how hard is it to think of an updated program that's actually going to get you where you need to get to?
Pretty hard.
Right?
To say the least. Is pretty damn difficult.
It is so hard. So no matter how brilliant you are, no matter how fantastic you are, your subconscious mind is actually going to limit you from being able to access those affirmations, those programs that you actually need to create to plug into your mind. So you need that person that's going to hold space for you, that's going to push you way further than you're even comfortable with going.
Absolutely.
Because that's where you need to go to get to where you want to go. And you let somebody hold space for you in that way, the way that I do, that self-love journey is going to be expedited in a way that you just didn't even think was possible. And
Exactly.
it's way more fun than you thought.
Yeah.
It's way more fun than you thought.
It's a lot more fun. It's if you allow yourself to actually be in the process and to experience it and to make light of it in a way, it can be a lot of fun. And a lot of people talk about this, trust the process, and they're like, like I don't want to trust. Stop with the anxiety and the, the kind of tension that goes along with that phrase. The process should be fun. Not all the time. Growth is painful. Growth is 100% painful. But there should be moments where that light bulb switches on and you go, I've just leveled up. I'm no longer responding to this kind of situation in the way that I did a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. I've done something different. I've bettered myself in a way. And I think a lot of people forget to do, I call it, giving yourself a pat on the back. And I always tell people, don't just give yourself a pat on the back, in your own mind, but actually do the physical action of patting yourself on the back. Ground it in the physical action of patting yourself on the back as well, every time you do something good. Because we know how good it feels when somebody pats us on the back or, gives us that kind of validation and reassurance. Give it to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as resolution is concerned too, the thing that I find that's a really big missing puzzle piece in the conventional model is that you're talking from a cognitive perspective. You're bathing in the conscious mind and you're talking about everything that you've been through over and over again. But where's the release?
Mm-hmm.
Where is the release?
And where's the subconscious work?
Exactly. And you know this, how quickly when you work with me, when there's something coming up, how quickly does that shift happen?
Quickly.
Yeah.
Because
A release.
what you do communicates with the subconscious mind rather than the conscious mind. And anyone who knows the distinction knows that the conscious mind is a very small fraction of who you actually are. Everything that creates your identity and creates your belief system and how you value yourself and everything else is buried way down deeper than that. And it's not readily accessible to a lot of people unless they do the internal work and know how to access it.
That's exactly it. And the other thing that is a really big missing puzzle piece that I find in the conventional model is the spirituality aspect.
Yeah.
The spirituality aspect, so many people that have come to work with me have said, oh, thank God. Thank God somebody's actually honoring that I'm a spirit, that I'm a divine being. And because I have all of these questions, but I've had nobody to talk to. I've had nobody to hold space for me from a spiritual perspective. I'm here to honor every aspect of you, the emotional you, the mental you, the psychological you, the spiritual you, the sexual you, the career and business aspect of you. Every aspect of you needs to be honored in order for you to have holistic resolution. And that was why I created this, because when I looked in the outside world to see how people were holding space, they weren't holding space seeing people as divine beings and saying, I love you, come meet me here because I already love you. Yeah, but I have to do things. How you don't know me, how can you love me? Sweetie, I already do. And you need to come play with me to understand why I already love you, because you don't have to do anything. You're perfect. Right?
So, final question before we conclude. What sets you apart from other therapists out there? Why should people come to you above everyone else? What is it that sets you apart as an individual and the techniques and the tricks that you use and the work that you do? What's different?
Like I said before, I'm going to hold space for you with zero judgment and unconditional love. You are going to come and bathe in a love arena. And you are going to be seen so much bigger than you see yourself. And I'm not just going to honor you as a human being in this life experience, and then you're going to tell me all your stories, and then I'm going to support you creating cognitive shifts. We're going to do the work on a grand scale so that we can get to why it is that you're in this life and what it is that you wanted to do in the first place, so that you can jump out of bed in the morning excited to be doing the thing that is nourishing your soul.
Yes, there we go. That's what I
Right?
want to hear.
That's what it comes down to. I jump out of bed every morning excited to serve, because I'm telling you, it's like a drug. It is like a drug. Teaching people to own their power and to love themselves, and to see people blossoming and exploring and quitting their jobs and becoming life coaches and quitting their jobs and starting a nonprofit to support other women. And like, it's just so incredible when I see the powerful life shifts that people make when they own their power and they get in alignment with why they're here. And every single one of them is a love warrior. Every single person who comes to work with me wakes up as a love warrior. And it turns out they were here to flood the earth with love in their own way. So I'm actually collecting an army of love warriors. This is so dope.
I love that. Harmony, listen, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for agreeing to be a guest. Before we conclude, anyone who isn't following Harmony already on TikTok or on Instagram, please go and check her out. Please go and follow her content, because she is putting out some amazing, amazing work out there. Also, you have a website, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's just harmonywoodington.com. Just look up my name.com. Super simple. And I've got all
Go
my
check that out,
offerings
guys.
there.
Yeah, go check that out. You will not be disappointed. Harmony, thank you very much for agreeing to be on Inspire You. Really, really appreciate it. I love your face. And until next time, take it easy, guys. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.